Hi, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Christy, Matt, Alonso.
Hi.
Getting a little pre-Thanksgiving on. This movie actually opens next week, but we've all seen it, and there's no embargo, so what the heck? We're talking about Knives Out, the eagerly anticipated Rian Johnson all-star whodunits.
Before we do that, do you want to mention what you saw last week, Alonso?
Yeah. I caught up with Charlie's Angels this week.
It's fun, right?
Really enjoyed it.
Right.
Like, I don't know why everybody's having conniptions about this movie, and I don't know why it flopped, but then,
People are jerks.
I liked White House Down, and instead we get, Has Fallen sequels. So what do I know? But no, I had a blast at Charlie's Angels. Thought it was funny. I liked the action. I wish it were going to be a franchise, but apparently it's probably not going to be.
Did you enjoy Kristen Stewart?
Very much.
Yes.
But I thought they were all funny, and I they were all, I was surprised because I did not think, not because she's a woman, but I didn't necessarily think that Elizabeth Banks was going to know how to direct action. Because the only film I've seen her direct is Pitch Perfect 2. But I was kind of shocked at how really good a lot of the big sequences were, and they were suspenseful, and yeah, I had a big dumb grin on my face for just about the whole thing.
Well, we had fun with it too, as we talked about last week, and Elizabeth Banks actually had a tweet on Monday, I want to say, saying something like, if you're going to have a flop, at least have your name on it in 4 different places.
Exactly.
Right. And then she said, I'm proud of Charlie's Angels, and I hope you enjoyed it.
She should be proud of it.
Good for her.
It's really fun. And
Totally.
Clearly Elizabeth Banks will direct a movie again.
Oh, sure. I hope so.
She'll be fine, but hopefully maybe in time others will come around and it will be a culty kind of thing, and people will have revisionist views of it
Exactly.
anyway.
It'll be the Josie and the Pussycats of 2019. Mark my words.
But Knives Out, which we're talking about now, is clearly going to be a giant hit and massively well received, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Matt, you adore it. Why don't you describe it?
I'm hesitant to describe this at all. This is a whodunit. I will only give away what we've seen in the trailers. Okay. Christopher Plummer is a very rich and famous writer, and he's got a family that some of them are self-made, some of them are not. And he is self-made millionaires. And the movie opens with them investigating his apparent suicide, which probably isn't. And it becomes a big old mystery. And that's all I really want to say, because
yeah, the vaguer the better.
The vaguer the better. This is a terrific cast. Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas,
Daniel Craig,
Toni Johnson, LaKeith Stanfield.
Right. Terrific cast. I thought this was a terrific script. I'll just say it early. This is a perfect movie. I think this movie is absolutely perfect. I loved this. I had a big old grin the whole time. I went into this movie with really high expectations, and the movie exceeded them. And I think it's great. I will tell people, be careful what you read about this movie, because even, again, it's...
The less you know,
the less you know, the better. This is absolutely one of those movies. Absolutely, the less you know, the better. And partly because it keeps going in directions. I love when I can't figure out where a good movie is going. And at no point could I figure out where it was going. And I loved that. That's a rare treat.
It's just really fun to see Rian Johnson take all the clout and all the power and all the money and all the whatever you want to call it, the Hollywood insider-ishness, to go back to his roots and go back to, even though it's got a fantastic all-star cast, this is a little movie, it's a little intimate movie where he gets to play with structure and with genre and with the language. That was what was so exciting about Brick, for example. Brick is his film noir in high school, and Looper is his sci-fi movie. He keeps making his version of genre movies, but when there's such exciting specificity to the language, and you can tell that everybody involved in it is having a blast because it's challenging, but it's also really smart, and it's also really funny. It's really exciting.
Right. It's not as madcap as, say, Clue was, although they do kind of bring up Clue as a little bit of a reference.
It's very meta.
But it is meta, but it's not the zaniness of Clue or Murder by Death. It's not trying to be that, but there is some, because it's about the investigation of the death of a mystery writer. It does play around with those tropes, but not in that kind of, again, not so zany that it's making fun of them completely.
It's not Airplane.
Right.
No,
It's playing it straight for the most part, but it's having fun with it. I like this movie. I like it, and I am mystified by like this kind of claim and the reviews that were coming out of Toronto. And partially, I admittedly, I'm not the biggest Rian Johnson fan.
Are you not?
I liked Last Jedi quite a bit, but like I didn't like Looper, and I'm mezzo on Brothers Bloom. I still haven't seen Brick, and so I think I went in with maybe too high of an expectation, because you're right. It's a great cast, many of whom get a lot less to do than you would think. Like, I think he's mostly kind of wasting this ensemble because they don't do enough. They're just not on screen enough. And so it winds up being kind of boiled down to a smaller handful of characters. And I found myself thinking, wow, you could have gone off in directions with any of these people, and it would have been interesting because the taste we get of them is so good. And yeah, I mean, it is a fun, twisty, labyrinthine whodunit plot that does make sense and that does all, play out in a way that it never feels like he's cheating. But like, again, I think there's so much of this movie is like, there's a potential of what's there and what it could have been and then what it is. And it's like, I wish it had been more. Like, I wish they had done more with the house. The house, suggests the one in Sleuth, which is also about a mystery writer who is obsessed with games and puzzles. And like, that house figures into a lot more things in a way that this one, I kept waiting for that to happen, and then it didn't. And
the house does some things.
Some things. I don't dislike this movie in any way. I was entertained, but I think it's being sold to me as this really kind of great thing that I think is like, it's fine. And I think that people may be overrating it because people aren't making movies like this as much anymore. I mean, I kind of had the same feeling about Ready or Not, which I think, frankly, I like better of the two of these films. But I think also just because like that's a movie that didn't quite live up to its potential. But
for a second, I thought you meant Ready Player One.
Oh,
I was
God,
like,
no.
what?
I thought about that for a second.
No.
Ready or Not, I loved. Yeah, Ready or Not, I loved. I think I like this one better.
No, fair enough. But I think both of those movies, I think we're more excited about them than maybe they deserve because people don't regularly make these kind of like big cast in a creepy old house, shenanigans ensue movies the way they used to. Like that was a fairly regularly occurring genre back in the day, and we don't get that nearly.
Right, we don't get a lot of arsenic and old lace.
Yeah, or like Cat and the Canary, that that sort of thing. But if you break this movie down into component pieces, there are fun things about it. Did you catch the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is married to Don Johnson, and her mother and his mother-in-law made 2 consecutive Alfred Hitchcock movies?
No, but that's a nice touch. That's a very nice touch.
Okay.
One thing I love about this movie is that it gives us an opportunity to see actors in a totally new light, like people or a refreshed light, I would say.
Right.
People that we think we know, people who do not get enough of an opportunity to do comedy, like Daniel Craig, who is tearing it up, doing this foghorn leghorn thing,
so good at this.
having so much fun. And it is a one-note bit, but it's a hilarious note that I love going back to.
This is not a spoiler, but his accent, I kept thinking, was a plot point. And then it wasn't.
Because it's just so freaking fake.
Yes.
I love the idea. I mean, just Chris Evans in the cozy cable knit sweater, first of all, is great. But like him playing a not so likable character is a really exciting contrast with
for sure.
the Captain America good guy role. It allows him to go back to some of the swagger and arrogance of who he played in Scott Pilgrim. So for me, that was a lot of the joy of this, like beyond the intricate plotting, beyond the language of it, like just watching actors that we think we know get to show up a whole different side of them. You can like feel the thrill of the freedom of that, and that I enjoy.
And I like that we see that with Ana de Armas as well.
Right.
Like she's not, that character could have been written in one way, like a more traditional kind of like wilting, like caught up in stuff. And there's definitely that happening, but she's no dummy. And she's, she understands the game that's going on. Or at least like, yeah.
And you have to make a leap with a character element of hers that becomes very essential to the plot where you're like, okay, movie, and so it's, yeah.
I don't. But here's one thing that is not a spoiler that I will say I like about the Ana de Armas character. A couple things is that Right. She is the caretaker. And we often see that character, right, in a way that is like subordinate and kind of meek. And there's more to her than that. I love the running bit and the little pointed bit of political commentary.
Oh, right.
That
Ooh.
everyone in the family gets the country wrong that she's from.
Right.
They keep saying the wrong thing. And like, that's just an example of them being like rich and white and careless.
Oh, yeah,
And
very often,
obnoxious, right?
very often their dealings with her is so like condescending and pandering, and you're just like, oh God, stop it.
I enjoyed that part of
I
it.
like that quite a bit. I mean, look, I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on this movie. I just
You
don't.
kind of are numerically.
Because I think it's fine, but it's just fine. It's not like
Do you not appreciate though the fact that like Rian Johnson could just go and make a bunch of like mindless blockbusters forever, and
No,
he
of
gets
course.
to
Look, yes, I appreciate the fact that
Yes.
he is having fun with something and that he's using his chits for good. Yes, a million times yes. But again, I think when he does that, based on past performances, they aren't necessarily movies that I like that much. Like, I love the art direction of the Brothers Bloom, and I love Rinko Kikuchi's performance. And the rest of the movie is just sort of like negligible to me. I outright do not like Looper. I think it has a lot of problems.
I think you'd enjoy Brick.
I think I probably would.
Brick is my favorite of his pre-TLJ movies.
I've been meaning to get around to it. And like, so this one I thought it was perfectly fine, and if it hadn't been pre-sold to me as the second coming, I might have liked it even more. But as it is, I was like, wow, I see all these elements here, and I don't think they're all being used to their fullest potential.
So Alonso, you had high expectations which were not met. Matt, you had high expectations which were exceeded.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm right in the middle. I liked it just fine.
right. Like, I'm not trying to say that this is an epic, important film, but I think
Just
that
perfect.
it is. Well,
No pressure.
Perfect
No,
for
but
what
here's-
it is. I hear.
right. Like, this is a perfect execution of this type of movie,
No,
right?
I
Like
get it.
kind of again, like the madcap comic thriller. This is, I think it does everything right, with some gusto to it, with some fun, and I found that fun infectious, and it's. Oh yeah, great! This is amazing, right? I mean, I was on a high from that movie for a while, so I loved it, and I give it a 10.
Woo woo! I'm saying 9.
6.8. Sorry.
Wah, wah.
But I'm not saying don't go see it. I'm just saying temper those expectations.
So this is coming out next week, actually, Thanksgiving weekend. We're
Thanksgiving
doing,
Eve
we're
on
doing it.
Wednesday.
We're doing it a little bit early because we can.
Yes.
So our number is an 8.6. It is at 97% on the tomato meter.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Like this video, won't you? And subscribe to this channel. And while you're at it, go to Be Fast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. See what we're up to on the social media. And why not go visit patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We have lots of cool content for our subscribers, principally our TV recaps. If you missed those from the other show, we're currently talking about Watchmen and his Dark Materials and the Morning Show, and of course The Mandalorian. And we throw in other fun stuff as well. We do trailer stuff and movie news, and we review older movies that are chosen by our members, all that kind of stuff. So check it out, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.